to the Wolfpack Perspective, a podcast that dives into the past and present of sci-fi, horror, fantasy, and all things action. Listen to the pack as they discuss cult classics and tell you which mainstream mistakes you can avoid. But the pod isn't just movie and game talk. Get to know some of the wild, real-life guest stars and hear some of their even more wild and scandalous stories. With the intro out of the way, here are your hosts, Hail Caesar and Alex the Wild Wolf.
What's up, everyone? I'm Alex. I'm here with my co-host, Hail Caesar. Together, we make up the Wolfpack Perspective, a podcast, YouTube channel where we discuss everything from video games, movies, to today, wrestling. We have a special guest that called in. He's on the phone, so the audio may not be the same quality as ours, but we're more than happy to have him on here.
Very excited to have him. Very excited.
Roger, you want to introduce yourself? Give us a little background on yourself.
Well, first of all, guys, thanks for having me. Alex, you growed up on me. I remember when Alex was a kid. I used to before we get started, I want to introduce how I knew Alex. I used to go to Alex's house, and I used to play a lot of pool with his dad. And Alex is the reason I have a lot of anxiety to this day, I think, because I can remember Dad. Me and his dad would play 6 or 7 hours of pool, and we wouldn't say a word together the whole time we were playing. So he was that serious. But I can remember looking over the balcony and watching Alex about to come up the steps. I was like, "Oh God, please don't come up, Alex. If he misses this ball, he will put his pool stick down, and there's no telling what kind of beat you're going to get." And I used to never miss a ball. I was like, "What am I doing here?" But I used to pray so Alex wouldn't get beat. But Alex, ever since he was a kid, real young. Back in 1995, anybody knows me knows I'm a big Morris State University fan. Actually, right now I'm going in my 24th year without missing a basketball game. And they did a story on me last year, and not to do a shameless plug on that, but you can go to Morris State University fan experience, and they have a story on me on that one. But no, I was shooting pool one day at ADUC. Like I said, it was 1995, and the guy I was playing with, he did a lot of male dancing with a review company out of Olive Hill that was owned by a guy named Alex. His name was Alex. And
wait, male dancing, like X-rated dancing, or
strippers?
Okay.
Stripping bells.
Lifting, bodybuilding, all that stuff. Yes.
Okay.
And me and the guy I was playing pool with was Shane, and I started talking to Shane. I said, "What's Alex doing these days?" He said, "He's actually stripping. He's got his own company, Champagne Dreams." And I said, "Really?" And he says he was telling me how they went to Huntington and all over Ohio and everywhere to do that, and how much money he was making. And then he said, out of the blue, he said, "You know what else he's doing?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "He's doing professional wrestling." I said, "Really?" I said, and then that took me back when I was about 12 or 13. I remember having this ring down by my house, and it was the hardest ring you ever seen in your life. I had 10 on it. I had a piece of a foam, a real thin foam on it, and it was hard as crap, believe me. And then I needed some wrestling ropes. I didn't know where I was going to get my wrestling ropes at, so I looked over and there was my mom's garden hose. I didn't know any better. I drove nails for those garden hoses and nailed them up as ropes, and she about killed me after she seen what I did to her garden hose. But I wore a broom out about every day for about a year. I wore a broom out. I wore a pillow out, anything I get. And then my little brother got big enough where I wore him out a lot of times in that ring. But anyways, I forgot about wrestling. But then when Shane told me about Alex and doing the professional wrestling in Moorhead, I said, "Really?" And he told me where's that? It was a place up in Halterman, Kentucky. There's a Halterman school up there. I think the gym is not there anymore, but the school still is, and they have some events up there. But they had a wrestling ring set up there. And every Sunday, you could go up there and get trained by a guy that came in from Letcher County, Kentucky. And it was called Rampage Sudden Impact Wrestling School. It was $1,500. You paid your first $300 down, and then every Sunday you went there, you was required to pay $100 or $200, whatever, but at least $100. So you got to pay it off. So long story short, I did the school was for 16 weeks long, and I think I finished mine in 14 weeks. And which when I finished it, it didn't guarantee me nothing. I got a wrestling license from the state of Kentucky, which a lot of people don't know. It is required to get a wrestling license, just like a boxing license from the state of Kentucky. They do regulate it, even though this has been an argument that's been going on for years. How can you regulate? It's not a real sport. It's more entertainment. But the reason they regulate it, when the WWE comes through town, Lexington, they get 5% of the gate. So that's where they get their money at. But long story short, I finished the wrestling school. And from Thursday through Sunday, that started about a 7 or 8 year run. Thursday through Sunday, we'd do shows in Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee, wherever we had shows. And that's where I was at for the next 4 to 5 years of my life consistently.
Well, just as a little backstory, you're talking about how when we met, I can remember when you played pool with my dad, I could hear you a long time before I could ever see you. Even when I was outside, I could tell how the pool game was going upstairs based on what I could hear from coming up there.
People don't believe that. They said, you played pool for 6 hours, you might not have said 2 words. I said, I'm telling you, we might not have talked the entire day. I said, I'm trying to beat his ass just like he's trying to beat me. I said, and then after it was over, we talked for a while, and then we started hooking up. We started going to Louisville, all those pool tournaments together and all that. And yeah, that's how I met your dad. I was like, but you used to scare me to death. I was like, God, Alex, just stay down the stairs. Just don't move.
All right, so picking back up where we left off, did you start? I know you said you wrestled for the Ohio Championship Wrestling. Is that where you started?
Started with a company named Gen X out of Frenchburg, Gen X, and then I went to New Ohio Championship Wrestling, and then Nationwide Championship Wrestling. I can remember this day where I got my name. Like I said, I didn't have anything to do with my name. We was in Olive Hill, Kentucky, before a show, and me and the booker. For those people who don't know what a booker is, he's the guy who tells who wins or loses. We were sitting back there. His name's Billy. We were sitting back there, and he said, "You know what, Big Daddy Mac." I said, "Big Daddy Mac? What are you talking about?" I said, "People be teasing me about Big Macs at McDonald's. I know what this is going." He said, "No." He said, "Big Daddy Mac's your name." He said, "You know what? Your mom's won the lottery." I said, "She's won the lottery." He said, "Yep. Your mom's won the largest lottery in California." I said, "Really?" And he said, I said, "Tell me more." He said, "Yeah, she's won over 300 million. I said, 300 million, really?" And then he said, I said, "You know what? I like Big Daddy Mac more and more." So from that day on, that's where I went. And yes, I did get teased everywhere I went. They had Big Macs thrown at me. They used to go get Big Macs at McDonald's. The fans did. And at that time, I was about 60 pounds heavier. And I got teased wherever I went. But yeah, that's where the Big Daddy Mac name came from, was the booker I worked for.
So,
out of the blue.
So if I remember right, I actually watched one of your wrestling events. Me and my dad went. Your character was more of like a villain, right, or a heel?
It was a heel.
Yeah.
Baby faces are the good guys and heels are the bad guys. And I was definitely a heel. I was just thinking yesterday, I was never a baby face. I might have been a baby face for maybe 2 days. And that was just me to get people mad when I turned again to the bad guy. But I think I might have been a good guy in 14 years. I might have been a good guy twice.
So being the heel, I'm guessing you probably had some pretty wild fan interactions.
Oh, well, what I usually do is where we went, I would Google the town we was at to get some background information. And I remember one time we pulled into West Virginia, and I swear I've never seen a town so proud of second place ever. Never in my life I've seen second place. Everywhere I looked, it said runner-up softball, runner-up in tennis, runner-up in football, runner-up in baseball. I said, "Oh, Lord, I can't wait tonight." So I get in the ring. I'm managing a guy named Elix Skipper out of WCW. And I said, "I've never been to a place in my life where you people are so proud of runners-up." I said, "Where I'm from, runner-up's like kissing your sister. But I guess here in West Virginia, kissing your sister comes pretty normal." Oh my God! You thought I'd set fire to their house or something. That night, I had to get 2 police officers to take me to the car. There was actually people outside the gym ready to stab me. I said, "Guys, I mean, back then I was like, you got to be smarter than this. You know it's a show, right?" But back then, I don't think people as smart they are today. But yeah, there was people actually waiting around an hour after the show be over with just to try to beat me up or attack me.
So is that the wildest story you got, or do you have wilder than that?
Oh God, I can remember one time in Olive Hill, there was this guy that was in love. I don't know if he was in love as far as that goes, but he was in love with Cousin Elwood. Cousin Elwood wore overalls. He was in love with. Everywhere we went, this guy would show up. His name was Jeff. He showed up everywhere we went because he loved Cousin Elwood. But where the show was at, you could see cars coming up the hill, and we knew what Jeff drove because, heck, he'd been to every show we had. So as soon as we saw him coming up the hill, we had planned to take Elwood out to the parking lot and beat him up, as if we just, he'd been going on for a minute. So I said, here's Jeff. So we take Elwood out there and we wear him out, beat him up, strangle him with his overalls, leave him like he needs help. He shoves that car up in the park. He comes after us. Me and Billy has to run back into the building because this guy really thinks it's a real legit fight. He never did catch him. Every time we went somewhere, we beat Elwood up. And he's always a little bit too late. The guy would. We just sat back and laughed. And there was this one time in Ashland, I got in a fight with this woman. I said, this is weird. I've never been in a fight with a woman, but this woman's crazy. We signed some autographs for the show and after the show, and everybody has their paper out and their Sharpies, and we sign whatever they have, whatever it may be. Well, I come up to this lady, and I notice I don't see no paper. She don't have no boobs to sign. I've signed boobs before, but she has no boobs, and she has a baby in her arms. I was like, what do you want me to sign here? She goes, I want you to sign the baby's head. I said, are you nuts? I am not signing. The baby's about a month old. I said, I'm not going to sign with a Sharpie on your newborn baby's head. I said, this is a permanent marker. Are you retarded? She goes, you'll do it. I said, well, you're crazy as hell. You think I'm going to sign this baby's head? And I never thought in my life that I'd meet somebody like that, but I thought I was going to have to fight her to get out of there. So I refused to sign her baby's head. She went off on me and everything like that. I said, well, why don't you tell everybody why you're mad at me? And she told everybody else, and everybody else thought she was crazy. That's probably the craziest request I ever had, was sign her newborn baby's head. I wasn't going to do.
So, Roger, with these promotions you were with, about how much territory did they cover as far as a state, every 2 states or whatever, how much traveling, I guess, is involved with it?
We would leave out on Thursday night and work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday, we try to get a place on the way back to Kentucky, but we'd work Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee. We'd work those territories mainly. And we would, those guys that would work with us in Tennessee would come to Kentucky and work at the Carl Perkins Center, and vice versa. We'd use our people to go to Ohio, West Virginia. We interchanged a lot of talent when we, and people this day, and when I look back on it, I was like, why did I do all that? Because honestly, what I was making each night, people think, oh, you must be making $100, $200 a night. I was making between $20 and $40 a show. The best show.
Yeah, that was going to be a follow-up question. I was curious how much money you made for the shows. So about $20, $30 a night? $20 to $30
a night. The best payoff we ever had, we was working for a guy in Ohio, and I thought I was robbing him. He was paying us $75 to $100 every time we go down there. It was every month we was going down to the show in Ohio, and we thought we was robbing this guy. He would actually pay us that much. He would also pay for our food and our gas down there. I was like, man, we're killing this guy. But what we didn't know until months later was when we went to the dressing room, we weren't allowed to come back up to the arena or the gym until the show time. And we didn't know what was going on up there. We heard, the ring bouncing around. We heard people going around. We didn't know what the heck was going on. But the joke was on us. We found out months later that guy was using our girls that we would bring them to him. He was using our girls upstairs to make videotapes of wrestling, like apartment wrestling, whatever. And to this day, I've never seen one, but I can only imagine what kind of tapes it were. But this guy was making thousands on top of thousands of dollars making videotapes at VHS at the time and all around the country.
Hey.
Making a lot of money.
It's like the wrestling world's kind of like got its own little underground from the sound of it.
What people don't understand is, I'm serious. A lot of the stuff is entertainment, but there's a lot of loyalty to it. And for example, I remember one time I was a referee, and I started out as a referee. The first gig I ever had was a referee. But I remember one time I was in the ring, and Bull Payne, he weighed about 265 pounds, and he'd been at the WWE and all those places, worked in Japan and all that. And he was told by the promoter to take Stan, the guy he was wrestling, Stan Lee. He was told to take Stan Lee out, and I was back there and heard every bit of it. I was like, this is going to be interesting. And Bull says, what do you want done, Scotty? He says, I want you to take Stan Lee out because the night before in Kingsport, Stan Lee made a statement that Southern States was the best independent wrestling around. Not ours, but theirs was. So the promoter we was working for in Kentucky said to take him out. So Bull Payne proceeded to get a chair, and poor Stan never got his hands up in time. He hit him in the back of the head, and I have never seen a gash on somebody's head in my life like he put on his head.
So when you say take out, you mean like actually take out, like hurt take out, or?
Hurt, because he was offended by what the guy said the night before, that Southern States was the best independent wrestling, and not ours was. So stuff like that. I've seen people brag to their friends about how they whooped such and such, even though we all know it's entertainment. And the next time they get in the ring, we had to go pull two guys off each other because they was about to kill each other for real. Just stuff like that happen all the time. You had that respect. What people don't know is those guys are probably together all day long before a show starts. When you first get to the building or whatever, the first thing you should do is you go shake the hand of the promoter. You thank him for having you on the card. And a lot of people will work him for the next 30 minutes, trying to get $15 or $20 more out of him by kissing his butt, tell him he likes to work for him, that he's the best promoter ever, even though we know the guy tells all the promoters that. But he spends the next 15, 20 minutes talking to the promoter. The boys will get there little by little. You go make sure you shake everybody's hand in the locker room, because if you got any kind of heat, with any of the guys, you want to make sure you settle thin, because you don't want to wait until you get in the ring and settle it, because that's where bad things happen. So you make sure you don't have any heat with anybody, and then you'll go up to the booker. Like I said earlier, the booker is the guy who tells you who wins the match and loses the match. You go up to him, and he'll say, "I need you and him to go about 10 to 15 minutes out there tonight, and I need you to put him over." Meaning he's going to win on you. You're going to lose to him. He'll tell you if you're going over, which means you win, or he's going to tell you if that other guy's going over. And you get together over in the corner of a room, and for the next hour, you're going over about every move in the match. If you do this, I'm going to do that. And then when you walk through the curtains, of course, it's one by one. But the first thing you do when you come back through the curtain, people don't know the other guy's there waiting on you. You hug up, you go over your match, and it's always, maybe I could have done that better, or maybe you could have done this better. But you always hug up and make sure there's no heat. Because sometimes in a wrestling match, you'll throw a potato, meaning that you will actually throw a punch that connected pretty good. And that happens all the time. And usually those are accidents, unless words got around that you've been running your mouth on somebody, then the potato may come in, not on accident, but on purpose.
So something I was wondering, the match isn't necessarily scripted per se, right? But you don't like rehearse it beforehand, correct?
You try to go over, you go over 5 or 6 major moves that you want to get in during the match. But we never did like to script it from start to finish, like everything, because if you get out there and something's not working, then the crowd's not into it, then you're going to have to be able to adjust on the fly and do something different. There's crowds that like to see high flying stuff all the time, and then there's crowds that like to see a slow pace. You just have to judge the crowd, but you don't want to script it word for word and whatever. They usually say, go out there and give us 15 minutes, and they'll tell you who wins and who loses, and that's what you'll do.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not micromanaged. Roger, did you ever have situations, using the industry term of getting guys over, putting them over, where there was a certain wrestler they wanted to put over and just it did not happen with the crowd, but they continued to try to push this wrestler? Did you ever have that happen?
All the time. For whatever reason, there's some people that we try to put over and push throats that nobody likes. You're going to have that right now. Right now in AEW, you got the Cody Rhodes kid. That's what they're doing with him.
Sure.
They're trying to put him over, push him, but nobody's going for it. There's some people, workers that will push down your throat, and we'll figure out 2 or 3 months later that it's not going to work, and we back off of it.
I see.
So what's the highest you ever made it? Is Ohio Championship Wrestling the farthest you went with it, or did you ever join other companies?
No, actually, when I had a full-time job. And I get a phone call one day. It was about 2000. It was early January 2001. I get a phone call, and it's from Scotty. He was the promoter in Ironton, Ohio that I worked for. He said, "Hey, can you be in Arkansas and Missouri on this weekend?" I said, "This weekend, like 4 days." He said, "ECW wants use you." I said, "Come on, man, don't mess with me like that." He said, "No, seriously, they want to use you in Arkansas and Missouri." I said, "You're full of crap." I said, "I'm serious. I'm gonna hang up the phone if you don't tell me." I hung the phone on. And he calls me back. He says, "No, I'm being dead serious. I can't go, but do you want to go?" I said, "Scotty, why are you screwing with me like this?" I said, "I thought we was better than this." He said, "No, I need you to be in Arkansas on Friday night and then Missouri on the next night." I said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "No." He said, just shut up for a minute," because I was excited. He said, "Just shut up for a minute. Here's the phone number. I need you to call it." So I called him, and it was legit, and they told me where to be and where to come. And here's me and two other guys, because I owned the ring at the time, and the other guy owned the truck that we went with, and the other guy owned the ring the trailer that hauled the ring. So there's three of us. Here we were going to Arkansas. Well, on the way to Arkansas, that's a trip in itself. Anybody knows me, travels with me, knows I'm asleep in the parking lot before we leave anywhere. So there's two guys up front, and I'm laid up in the back, and I'm asleep before we leave the parking lot as usual. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, I thought this was the day I was dying. I hear two guys start talking about, "I think we can jump it. I think we can make it. I think we can jump it if we go really fast." I said, "What the hell are you all talking about, jumping and whatever?" And there's a bridge, looks like a rising bridge. Here we were in a ring truck with a ring. I said, "Damn it, we can't jump that ring." I said, "We'll die." They said, "Just lay back, we're going to jump it." So I thought here I was screaming and hollering like a little girl on the floorboard. And they said, they was all up there laughing. They said, "Get up, we're not going to jump no damn ring or jump no damn bridge. That bridge just goes up like that." But it looked just like we was going to jump this bridge. But anyways, we drive all night to get to Missouri. I'm hyper as all get out. So I cannot believe we're going to be working for ECW, whatever. So we arrive in Missouri about 5:30, 6 o'clock that morning, and I had a phone number to call. So I couldn't wait to call this guy because we were there. Just let him know we were there. So I called, and the phone rang about 20 times, and he answered his phone. You could tell he'd been up all night drinking, whatever. I said, "Sir, I was told to call you." He said, "I don't know who the hell you are, but," he says, "when I see you later today, he said, I'm going to kill you." I said, "What are you going to kill me for?" He said, "I've been in this business 30 years. I've never been up before 2 or 3 o'clock in the evening." So I get to the arena that day, and I'm looking for him because I know he's looking for me. And I go up and I try to apologize to him. He grabs me in the headlock, and he squeezes. He says, "I'm going to let you go on this one." But he says, "Don't you ever call me at 5 o'clock in the morning." It was Jack Victor, who works for ECW. But I worked for those guys the last 2 shows they ever did. And then I guess probably a month later, it all came out that they were owned and operated by WWF at the time. And that was my biggest pay. I got $200 each show.
Okay, Roger. And for people that may not be that familiar at the time, how big of a company was ECW?
ECW was considered your number 3rd company in the world, behind WWE and WCW. ECW was your hardcore people that they had actually on TV, on TNT. They had their own TV, pay-per-views, and all that. So I was starstruck. To be honest with you, I was starstruck when I first got there because I was like, "Man, am I really here? I've only been in this business 3 years. Am I already here?" And these are the guys I see on TNT all the time. And then I said, "Okay, snap out of it," because one thing you'll learn about this business is we don't try to take ourselves serious at all. We don't understand why people take us serious, and because we know it's all work, all entertainment, or whatever. But especially backstage with those guys, you had to if you didn't know what you were doing, you sit there and watch them tell stories, and it was just a whole different atmosphere. But ECW is probably your 3rd biggest company at that time in the world.
Who's the biggest name that you met or most well-known person you met during that time?
In 2001 and 2, we were working with OVW out of Louisville. And at the time, OVW was the feeder system to the WWE. For example, if you wasn't on the WWE's main roster, they would send you down to Louisville to work. And those guys had to have places to work, such as our place, other places we worked. Those guys had to work like 2 or 3 days a week to get better so they could move to the main roster in WWE. So I spent a lot of time with John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, all those guys. They used to laugh at me because I had a full-time job once again. They had no full-time jobs. We'd go out drinking down on 4th Street where we went drinking. We'd always get plastered, and they'd always say I was uptight or because I'd always say, guys, we can't go to jail enough. If I go to jail, I lose my job. I don't. What are you doing? And they'd be turning cars over in the street, little bitty cars. They turn them over. I said, what the hell are you doing, Randy? He said, just turn this damn car. I said, I got a job. I've got a legit job I need to go back to. I cannot have a criminal record. They'd always laugh, have the biggest kick. And one day at work, a guy got my phone. He said, I think you're bullshitting about all those names. I said, do you really? He said, yeah. I said, well, I don't know why I'm doing this because I don't have to prove myself to nobody. I said, just hang on a minute. So on the way to Louisville, I had training. On the way to Louisville, I called up Batista. I said, hang on a minute, Randy. Somebody was talking to. I handed him the phone. He said, you wouldn't shoot me. I said, no, I'm not shooting you. It's about freaked him out. So, but to this day, though, when I watch those guys on TV, I have a lot of good memories of them. But it's harder for me. I wish I didn't know a lot about the business like I do now because I think it'd be more enjoyable to watch.
I got you. Just one of those things. Once you know the ins and outs, it's not as fun anymore. Or...
Yeah, I could tell you a lot of things. I could tell you a lot of things to watch for. If you didn't want to like wrestling ever again, some of the, you see a lot of guys tapping each other when let's say they're in a sleeper hold or a wrestler tapping. That either means that the guy's not got the hold on tight enough for his liking, or it's too tight. The referee, most people don't know this, but the referee, I always thought referee was the geek, or I didn't want to be a referee, but that's how it started. Everybody starts as a referee, manager, whatever, before you become a wrestler. I always thought referee, that's boring. But actually, the referee, a lot of people don't know this, the referee is the most important position in the ring. Even though he's looking like he's admonishing the rules to the competitors, he's actually telling the guys, you got 6 minutes to go. Or he's the referee that was backstage. When you're getting bounced around, you may forget your spots where you're at in the match. The referee's there to say, hey, you know what the next one is. The referee is talking between both guys. He's the go-between. He's actually the most important guy in the ring, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, the earpieces, he's somebody in the back saying, hey, tell them they got 3 minutes, take it home. Take it home is a term that you need to end the match within the next couple minutes, take it home. So the referee's looking at the guy, acting like he's telling him about pulling hair, but actually say, you need to take it home, but he's telling the guy what he wants done.
Okay. So, Roger, for any younger person or even people in their 30s and 40s that kind of have a dream, they still love watching WWE on TV. What direction, what advice could you give them? What directions could you point them in right now to kind of get started with this?
Nowadays, you'd probably have a better chance of playing professional baseball somewhere where you only
Really?
have two companies now. You could probably do a lot of independent wrestling all over if you're wanting to make $30 to $40 a night, but it's not going to be enough to live on. You'd have to have a full-time job. Wrestling schools back 15, 16 years ago, you could get in good wrestling schools. Those are harder to find now. But you can get you a good wrestling school. But like I said, there's no guarantees that they're going to train you. But then you're an independent contractor. It's up to you to find booking dates wherever you need to work. And by the time you pay for a rental car or a car, gas, food, and you're getting paid $30, $40 a night, you're going in the hole.
So it's one of those things, basically, you'd be doing it for love of doing it, not to make money.
Yeah. We had a guy that was a police officer. We had a guy that was a local police officer. He did it for about 5 to 6 years, and then all of a sudden it was gone. He wasn't nowhere around, and I was asking us, where did John go? Well, he finally realized something we should have realized a long time ago. Is you could be paralyzed, never walk again. One wrong move. Yeah, you do work the guys that you train with a lot of times in shows. But let's say you're working somebody out of Louisville, Cincinnati. They know the basics just like you know the basics, and they know how to call a match in the ring. They know the little key words. But if they get messed up and drop you on your head like a typical body slam, you know to protect the guy's neck when you slam him to the mat. But if you don't cuff a guy's neck, you throw him to the ground, he could be paralyzed, never walk again.
Yeah.
And are you willing to do that for $40 a night? So Yeah, it is for the love of it. And sometimes, you sit back and think about that. That gets real scary sometimes.
Caesar, you got any more questions?
Roger, we'll not even talk about WWE. Do you watch any of these other organizations at the moment? I don't think there's very many out there. I can remember names like TNA and Impact. Do you ever catch any of these? Do you have an opinion on them?
Yeah, one of my best friends I run with on the road, Andy. His real name is Andy Roberts Moorhead. He went to TNA. Andy Douglas as one of the Naturals.
Yeah,
I respect him more than ever. I'll tell you what he did. He leaves Moorhead, I think, with $150 in his pocket, not a job, nothing. He goes to Tennessee, gets him a job serving French fries and hamburgers at some joint. Goes to the tapings every Wednesday night, whenever it was, and that's how he got his foot in the door. You got to be crazy like that. You just got to be able to have no money in your pocket and just be able to go try to get your dream. Sometimes
so let me ask
advantage of you.
Well, let me ask you this. It seems like most guys trying to break into, they have full-time jobs, and it puts a lot of strain on them. When you were hanging out and you seen these guys like Randy or John Cena, were they working full-time, or were they in a position they didn't have to and they could focus?
They were already under contract with the WWE, but the WWE didn't have no place for them up there right now, so they sent them down to Louisville to OVW to keep them. They either sent them down to like Big Show. He was up in he was at WWE. They sent him down to OVW to lose like 40 or 50 pounds, and then they bring him back up to the main roster. They kept all their talent down in the farm system, so to speak. It's sort of like baseball. They sent them down to the farm system. And like you said, you was asking me about people breaking in all the time. That's a art form in itself. There's a lot of people that'll take your money, $100 for a tryout, and let you get in the ring, and they'll work you over for $100, and so we'll call you, and they never call you. I'll never forget. As long as I live, there was a girl in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Her main goal in life was to be a manager, a female manager. Her boyfriend was there and everything, so they get her backstage there, and they say, "Here's what we're going to do. You're going to slap me, and you're going to try to slap me again. I'm going to grab your hand. I'm going to put you on my knee, and I'm going to start whipping your butt." Her boyfriend was right there. So wait a minute. You're going to whip my boyfriend? You're going to whip my girlfriend's butt? And she was wearing like a leotard or something. And he said, "You're not going to do that." And she said, "You need to shut up. They're going to do whatever they want with me." And I said, "Oh my God, here we go, big fight backstage or whatever." He goes, "Well, as long as you're with me, you're not going to do this." She goes, "Well, that's what I need to hear. We'll break up." So here they was, the boyfriend's over here, jealous, and the other wrestlers over here, they're taking advantage of her, whatever, showing her what they're going to do to her, whatever. And she thought she was going to make it. We leave there that day. She said she was asking when we were going to do it again. But we'll call you. Never got called. ECW used to do that all the time. They used to get guys in, take your money, $150, give you a tryout, and they never call you. It was all about the money.
Wow. So, Roger, is there anything that we haven't asked you or that we've not brought up that you want to bring up?
Some of the politics I like to get across. We was in Cookeville, Tennessee one night backstage, and I hear a big scuffle. I didn't know what was going on. I hear two guys fighting, and I smell lighter fluid. I said, "What the heck's going on here?" And I'm slow. I don't know what the lighter fluid over. There was a guy that doused the other guy with lighter fluid, was trying to set him on fire. So here we were breaking them up and trying not to get burned up at the same time. And later on, we found out what it was about was that they had a contest that you could date. You could go out on a date with this wrestler. And the girl that won it was a little slow. She was mentally retarded, whatever. And the other guy said, "Well, at least I don't go out with mentally retarded people." And that really rubbed him the wrong way. So here they was. They had gotten a big major fight in the back, and the other guy was trying to set the other guy on fire. To this day, I was like, wait a minute, did I just really see that? I was like, what have I got myself into? So just some of the stuff, if you don't respect the business or respect the people that's in it, it can really get you in trouble in a hurry.
Wow.
My last match was actually at the Carl Perkins Center in 2011. We had for about three or 4 months there, we had built it up for a cage match. And we're back in the back, and the booker's got us off. It was a 3-on-3. The booker got us in the back and says, "Here's what I want down. I want about a 30-minute match." And I want Big Daddy Mac and his team to go over by cheating, and he tells us how he wanted to cheat. And he said, "Here's the last question I've got." He said, "I got to have blood in this match." We're all looking around, and guess what? I'm good. I don't want to do it right now. My head's just trying to heal up from the last time I did blood. And they said, "Well, Big Daddy, will you do blood?" I said, "We all do it." So I said, "But what about the $200 fine? Because Kentucky's got a no blood rule." And I was like, "Will you pay the fine?" And the promoter said, "Yeah, I'll pay the fine." So we get in there, and I have blood. And 2 months later, I get a phone call at the Carl Perkins Center again, and it's the Athletic Commission. They said, "Just tell us the truth, and we'll work with you, and we'll get past this." And I wasn't going to save a lot, and I sat there, and he goes, "Rogers, be honest with me, we can get through this." I said, "Okay, yeah, there was blood in the match in July." I said, "How hard was that?" He said, "We're done." He said, "Well, I'll take care of you." So next month I called, and I was like, "I've got $200 here from the promoter. I need to pay the fine for the blood." And she goes, "You must not got your letter yet." I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "It's not $200. It's $2,500. Because we're going to get every time you cut yourself, we're going to get you for endangering the other people." All that. So it was $200. No, it's $2,500. So I was like, "Why the hell would I pay $2,500 when I'm only getting $20-$30? So that's why my license is actually suspended online right now.
Oh, okay. So they suspended your wrestling license over that?
And I asked them this too. I said, "Let me ask you all a question. If the WWE would come through Lexington in a pay-per-view, and they're going to have blood in 2 or 3 matches, what would y'all say to them? You wouldn't say a damn word to them, would you?" They said, I said, "You wouldn't. Don't say you would. You wouldn't. Because you're our gate, which amounts to about a couple $100, but you're getting 5% of the WWE's pay-per-view gate. That's amount to $150,000 for that now. They go ahead and pay that up front. Vince McMahon will go ahead and pay that money up front. So we're having blood. Here's the fine money right up front. They go ahead and pay their fine money up front. And if the Athletic Commission would say no, they wouldn't come through Kentucky. They'd be missing all that money."
Yeah, sounds like they're trying to bullshit you a little bit there.
I'm sorry.
So it sounds like they was going to try to bullshit you a little bit there. I don't think for a second they would have charged them either. Not the WWE.
No, they wouldn't. They would go ahead and pay the fine up front.
That money they make too big.
People think the blood's fake. I tell people all the time, the blood's probably the realest thing in wrestling. The way you get it is not real, but that's why if you ever, another little thing, you probably already heard about this all your life, but a lot of times when a wrestler gets in the ring with tape on their fingers or whatever, that's where they carry the razor blade.
Okay.
After you done using the razor blade, you can put it in your opponent's tights, you can put it in your tights, and then there's a third way. I've never done this before, I never would, you thought about it. You can actually put the razor blade in your mouth and carry it until you get back.
Oh, God.
And I would never do that.
No, that sounds like an accident waiting to happen.
Exactly. But there's been many guys do it, though, and they're good at it. I was like, wow.
Before we end it,
Roger,
go ahead, Steve.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I got to be honest with both of you all. My connection to the internet is dog shit right now. I've picked up about every other word since we started recording. So hopefully Alex has been able to carry it on his end.
No, it's good on our end. Roger, we appreciate having you on, man. I know you got a full-time job and stuff to do, but we appreciate having you.
Not a problem.
With that,
yeah, we may try to get him to come back for a follow-up at some point. We get our setup a little better situated.
Yeah,
I'm always available. Just let me know when. I've got a lot of road stories we'll get into next time, and they'll all make you laugh forever.
With that, guys, I'm Alex. We got my co-host Hail Caesar, and we'll be signing off.